For those of you who didn't hear, what's up, everybody? This is Lauren with Reinventing the Tattoo, and today we're going to talk about some streaming stuff. So we've got a live group of people here at Hell City. If you're unfamiliar with Hell City, it's a Columbus-based tattoo convention that brings in a lot of different artists. We've got different streamers, different all sorts of stuff. So today I put together a little presentation. Are they able to see this, Gabe?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I put together a little presentation to kind of address what Gabe and I, Fawn, Todd, Forrest, a lot of us do every single day, which is streaming. And there's a lot of different reasons why. So today is streaming from simple to complex. All right, so I'm going to talk about a bunch of different things. We only have an hour, so we're going to cover anything from what you can possibly stream all the way to our equipment list, and then 3 different setups that we're going to cover. We'll also look at what actions you can take for pre to post-production with your content. And lastly, you can walk out of here being able to feel comfortable if you'd like to host a show with us on Reinventing the Tattoo. So let us get started. Okay. So for us, my background with Reinventing the Tattoo is to do a lot of streaming with other artists. We'll use video platforms such as Zoom. It's a pretty basic setup for pretty much anyone. As long as they have a link, they can Zoom in with us. In this case, we have an artist from New Zealand. Gabe was in Massachusetts, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to get in with other people. So I can point out here, Gabe clearly is using a camera. He's using a DSLR, so is Jake. Katie looks like she's using her probably her phone in that case. He looks like he's using a laptop or tablet, and I'm using a DSLR as well. So from the basic to the complex setups, it's all about what your intention is, and that would be, you know, what are you doing with your stream? Okay, so this lovely slide talks about just to get your mind thinking about the different types of stuff that you could stream. For us, a lot of it goes into virtual events, which are naturally education-based, interviews, and lifestyle coverage. Some of these things we'll just kind of brainstorm, and I'll ask you guys what you can think about. But tattoo giveaways, something as simple. A lot of people go live on Instagram for tattoo giveaways, which you can get by with a really, really basic setup. Otherwise, if you want to go live on a social platform, also guest artists in town, those are really nice. Once you start getting further in, that's when you want to get into more of a complex setup. When you have Q&A sessions with multiple audio inputs, panel discussions, multiple audio inputs. Otherwise, in the education stuff, if you want to find your niche, a tattoo technique is kind of a no-brainer. Tips, reviews, workshops, seminars, and webinars. When you get into some of this stuff, you really add a complex factor to things when you want to do something like a webinar and you want to do it live. The nice thing that I find with anything like that, education-based, specifically a webinar, is that when you do it live, it removes the need for much post-production. Other stuff for like interviews, if you want to start streaming from your website, interview other tattoo artists, experts, and clients. And then what you can do with that video is you can, and when you want to promote that you're going to be doing it, that embed link will show up on your homepage or social media or YouTube Live or all of it at the same time. Other stuff that you guys could stream about would be just updates and insights about the industry where you want to hear feedback live from people who are watching. New products and trends. Everybody wants to show off the stuff that they're using. And also, just like today, conventions and events. So I know Fawn is here with Tattoo Collecting 101. A lot of times they'll stream the actual competitions, which is really cool and unique. So that's kind of stuff to get your brains rolling a little bit. I know we have Mark from Needle Jig here. He'll live stream if he has an interview, such as like James from Medina Gloves. Forrest is here. He'll live stream on the Launchpad community. So there's a lot of different reasons. Gabe is here. He'll live stream at, like Black and Gray Week, where you had panels set up and the full complex setup. So that's my take on that. All right, equipment list. I'm going to do a little switch in here. All right, is anyone on YouTube or anything like that?
Yep, there are people watching.
All right, this might be a little shaky, but what I'm going to do quickly, and we can talk about this again towards the end, I'm going to show you some of the equipment that we have here. All right, so from a simple to basic standpoint, we've got everything from what I have here is a Blue Yeti mic. Are you guys able to see this? Is there enough light? Okay, so I've got a USB mic that we can use. We can use something like this little Shure if you're going to be streaming out from your phone. We can be using something from like a Rode mic. And we can test the different audios and how they sound. You could be using Bluetooth if you're going to be using your camera. You can also be using a little lapel. All right, and then some of the other stuff we have here are some of our audio inputs, which is a Rodecaster Pro. This mixer I use particularly for just my own audio at home, but a nice thing about here is we have a Bluetooth. So if you're going to do some sort of live stream, you can make phone calls through the Rodecaster and have that audio input on your podcaster. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's basically about it for our equipment. So if she's going to hold this over here, we're going to show a little bit of what I'm working with and what we'll be using. Okay, so I have a different audio setup for what I do, which is education-based stuff. So what we're looking at is we have a teleprompter. We have a monitor so that I'm able to see what I'm looking at and can look right into the camera. We've got our Rode Podcaster mic. Rode Pod mic. To monitor my audio, I've got a set of Shure headphones here. To monitor what's on my computer screen, I've got an Elgato Stream Deck here.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yep, I will. I'll probably talk about everything, just doing a quick. And then in my setup over here, I've also got this Zoom little audio switcher with 2 microphones input in through an XLR cable. Also got little table clamps here for different audio or video or lights. Yep. And you can show some of the... All right, we've also got a few different cameras on display, and we'll put a link to all of these different things and what they can do. I'm just giving the initial overview. This is a handheld camcorder that they use on Tattoo Collecting 101 often. All the way down to my Sony a7 III, which I use to stream anything in the Tattoo Weekly that I've done before. Okay. So all of this stuff combined could pretty much fit into a Pelican case if you're going to be traveling to an event, probably 1 or 2 Pelican cases. All right, that part is good. Okay, so when we look at a simple setup, if you just want to be calling in or doing, I think really common would be online booking consultations or, meeting with a new artist that you might want to have as a guest artist at your shop or anything like that. You just want to be able to get on Zoom and make yourself look nice. So really a simple setup, all you're really going to need is a tablet, laptop, or phone. For your microphone, you can get a nice, we usually use these a lot depending on the battery, but a nice just Bluetooth headphone set. Or you can get something like this from Shure and plug it right in. But to have a nice simple setup, which a lot of people use for us, for our drawing groups, for anything like that, that is basically all you need, and that'll get you to any social streaming platform like Facebook, Twitch, even down to YouTube Live. Okay, so when we go to an intermediate setup, that's when we're starting to look at multiple camera views. This is going to be really nice if you have, if you're talking while you're presenting a tattoo, or if you're drawing and painting and you want to zoom in, or if you're presenting, something that you're working on. So I'm going to set up in our free broadcasting software what that would look like. So what I'm doing over here is I'm working in free broadcasting software that we use a lot with Reinventing the Tattoo. If you can see this window, I'm using that kind of as my platform to change what I want to be showing you guys, which is really important. So say in like the podcast that we do, the Tattoo Weekly, I'll pull this up in the background if I want to shout out a sponsor, if I want to have a different view of my hands, if I want to have anything like that. And in this case, I will pull in something else, which is a video capture device. In this case, for my intermediate setup, I have a Logitech webcam along with my camera, which is inside of my teleprompter. Okay. All right, so a guy that I saw doing this for quite a while is Jason Leeser. And if you guys are watching Reinventing the Tattoo, that's pretty good to know because Jason always has his logos. He has kind of like a hand view as well. So if you can see this up on the screen, I'll go ahead and maximize it. This is super easy. This is not hard to do. You can add animations in here on the lower aspect of this screen. You can get into adding like transitions between screens. So for example, I've made this ahead of time and I could be working on something cool like something I'm painting or something I'm drawing at the same time. Well, someone can see my face. Other things that you can do would be to add some cool overlays in here, which is common, or even pull in different websites. For example, in World Tattoo Events, he's a sponsor of Reinventing the Tattoo. I've got a scene created so that if I select that scene, I can open up a browser window. Same with Reinventing the Tattoo. In this case, I have my video up here in the right-hand corner, and I'm screen sharing a website. This might be helpful if you are doing an online consultation and you want to share maybe some of your portfolio pieces or some drawings or something that you have in mind as well. Another use for this type of thing would be during the consult if you want to actually be drawing and sketching something while you're talking to somebody. So this is the Open Broadcaster Service, the studio that we could use for pretty much everything. You can also stream some of the streaming URLs and stuff straight out of this program. So back to the intermediates setup, that's just basically if you can take two cameras and you can have your audio coming in, you can pretty much get a nice looking intermediate setup. All the way down to the lighting, I think that adds a big aspect to it. So in this case, we're using a newer ring light. A lot of the people that I see streaming, they've got a couple of these just panels. Oops. So this is another common thing that you could do. So I'm not going to get into three-point lighting, but we all know how it works. If I really wanted to light this room, I could have this, behind me with a little red filter on it or something like that. But if you really want to look nice, get your lights right. And so we'll drop those in our description too. And then if you can see here from Gabe, all I've got over on this end is something right in front of me about, shoulder height. So moving on through our setup, I would say another thing about an intermediate setup that I'm not using is my Rodecaster Pro. And I spoke about this before because something like this is really nice if you want multiple audio inputs. So if you have the multiple camera views, you'd probably want another person in the room for the audio inputs. So if you have a beast like this, you get to up to 4 audio inputs. You could have a phone input, you could have a Bluetooth input, and then you can get sound effects, which is pretty cool. So what I use for this in these little, colored buttons, I could have sound effects like a sponsorship message like support Needle Jig Tattoo Supply. They're the best tattoo needles that you can possibly get. And then press all those pre-recorded things. So with that in mind, I also have another intermediate kind of cool setup over here, which is our Zoom audio device. And in this case, we've got our microphone here connected. And another one running up to the Rodecaster Pro here. All right, if you're going to want to run all this, you're probably not going to be wanting to stream to Facebook. So behind the scenes, when we're doing all these shows, we're running a lot of this through Vimeo. And Gabe, is it okay if I do a screen share on Vimeo? Okay. All right. All right, so the streaming software and platform that we use is Vimeo through Reinventing the Tattoo. We host all of this and send it out elsewhere. And you can do this, you know, if you're creating something that you're going to go live on YouTube, or if you have the website, anything like that. So to do all of that, I've got a whole list of upcoming live events that we'll be doing that we have pre-created. We're not going to go through the pre-creation phase, but we'll take a look at what's inside. Since Fawn is here, we're going to pull up Tattoo Collecting 101. Some of the things that are important as you see in something like this, a lot of information, you know, they even have down to simulated live video feeds. So the elements that we've added to something like this was a custom thumbnail that we add right through here, and a link to this event. Oops. Down to some cool stuff like where this content can go, down to YouTube and websites. Okay. All right, I'm going to move a little bit into the complex setup just so we can kind of look at everything that we have here and see what we could do to actually start a podcast or a live stream with it. And I actually could if I wanted to. If we're not on Vimeo now, then, oops. Okay, so for our complex setup, what you're going to probably want is a nice DSLR. In that case, we use the Sony a7 III. Gabe, what model camera do you have up there?
You know, I'm not a pretty fan. It's a Canon.
Okay.
Nope, it's a Sony. It's a Sony XD Cam.
Okay. So Gabe is using a Sony XD Cam with his microphones here to monitor what I'm doing.
Oops.
Yep. This is what's running through with the lapel up here. That. All right, really, honestly, all you're really going to need, you're going to have the camera, the microphone, which we talked about. We can use any audio mixer. And you get these, which Fawn can talk about because I haven't used much of these wireless handheld microphones. You're going to get down to your lighting, which we've already talked about. We're going to get down to a streaming platform like OBS, which a lot of people, even professionals, use, the OBS studios. And then we'll get something like this. This is a capture card. So if you want to go live with this nice camera that you have, which a lot of people have nice cameras, you're just going to need the right cord and the right capture card. A capture card is going to take the data coming from your camera and into your computer. A lot of gamers use these things. In this case, you can use an Elgato Cam Link or an Elgato HD60S Plus if you want 4K. And they have other models too, but the Cam Link I found that works pretty well. So once you have the data going in, you've got your camera set up. I set mine up on a teleprompter if I'm going to do something live like the Tattoo Weekly, so that I can read in advance a script that I've typed up or see myself or the screen. So to do something like that, you can take a little small, newer model monitor. In the case of like this, I've hooked it up from an HDMI cable to my computer so that I can see what I can see on my computer. Put that guy right there with my camera being behind the glass. That way I can look straight into it. Looks like I'm being pretty genuine while I have that DSLR behind it. And another important aspect of a pro setup, which would be like what we have right here, Gabe, if you want to scan, would be having multiple cameras. In this case, we have Mark's Canon, which is not connected to ours on this particular stream, set up there. Gabe's is set up right here as what you're watching. So the importance of that would be like if you have a panel, like last weekend in New York at the Empire State Tattoo Expo, they had a whole panel of artists, and during the live stream of it, they were able to switch between those. In my case, my video switcher that I use is an Elgato Stream Deck. This is way more than a switcher. I just use it for that, and that's in my hand. This is pretty cool because when I was talking about OBS and using it in my pro setup, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop over in here and create some scenes so that I can go back into my Elgato Stream Deck and switch from video to video. If I like what I have on my Logitech, I can use it. If I like what I have on Gabe's, I can use it. That way you're getting a really nice dynamic. I see Tattoo Collecting 101 do that on their show. They have someone kind of controlling it, producing it. which would be Kyle. He's monitoring it and changes it as he sees fit. But you can do all of that right through here. So once we have that, we've got our streaming platform, our capture card, our switcher. You can also use a YOLO box, which is what they use with Fawn, and I love it. I just haven't used it yet. You've got your stream deck. Let's see. Cords. I'm going to show you this. So to get your camera to work, you're going to need a micro HDMI cord. I'm going to zoom in on this little guy. All right, so if you take a micro HDMI into your Elgato or your Camlink, your little capture card, and into your camera, along with the HDMI going into a USB port, that will be the missing link to get your DSLR live. So once you have all that, you're pretty much ready to go. That's pretty much all you need to start, except for the content. So this isn't as great and extensive yet, but
Do you want to play on this section?
yeah. I want to show you guys some examples of what other people are doing in the industry and kind of look at it and see how we feel about it. Okay, so for example, this is a newer one. This is John Mesa. He's got the Honest Tattooer podcast. He's in the States, he's in New York. A lot of this equipment is what they're using right here. These are Shure mics, a little Shure desktop stand. You know, a lot of these guys, it's pretty consistent. They're all using the same thing. This guy here is using his Rodecaster, same mic hooked up with the mic stand. So you can kind of see that once you get the equipment, the content will be the thing that rules. Some of these guys are using the same other equipment with lighting, like with these backlights here with John's setup, or with these guys have a nice little backlit area for theirs as well. A few more examples. Also here in these guys set up for their live stream or podcast, in this case, Chats and Tats. I think Aaron Deladova has one of the nicest setups. Here, Tattoo Collecting 101 has 4 different audio inputs. They have a backlit TV, which is what we're watching right now. It's pretty cool. Recently, Bobby Caparo in Austin started the Wavelength podcast. He looks like he's using a Shure mic, same boom arm coming from a stand, backlit, that's all you need. Monitoring, looks like he has a Shure headset on. Back to these guys, same thing. Red backlit wall is pretty common. So it's kind of cool to see that everybody is doing this really with the same equipment, but they're starting to pop up so often, I think it would be only fair to have better content circulating. These guys, That Tattoo Show, so this is Chris Harrison and Paul Talbot. They do a lot of live stuff, but a lot of it is also pre-recorded. As does Jake Meeks. He uses the same exact process that we do for his live stuff through Vimeo, and he will put it out to Fireside Tattoo YouTube channel, as well as his website. Up here with the Tattoo Guardians podcast, we've got Joshua Carlton. You can see he's the same kind of setup that they do with their podcast. I'm not sure if they ever go live here. Back to Mark Wade from Bobby Caparo's setup as well. Looks like everybody on screen is pretty complex in their setup. Down to these guys. Oh, screen a little bit. Can't really tell. All right, so with these guys' stream, it looks like they're just kind of hanging at a table with a few attachments all the way to these guys in their shop, using more of a basic, almost USB setup into their MacBook Pros. This one, I think that they had seen Reinventing and they wanted to recreate the early days of Tattoo Collecting 101, if you ask me. So.
It does look like it.
Yeah, so with all that, these guys are basically bouncing between an intermediate and a complex setup, but all of them are going to be doing the same thing. They're going to get their stuff to something like Vimeo, they're going to get their links entered and embedded, and then it's going to go out. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too, because a lot of that is the most confusing part. Okay, so when you have something like a live stream, you're going to have to do a lot of pre-production stuff. You're going to need to get your thumbnails prepared. You're going to need to get your people aware of the stream. So you're going to schedule that stream. Let's just say that you've got all of those things. You've got an event created in Vimeo, and you're about ready to go live. So for us, with Gabe and I, we'll connect about 15 minutes before any of these streams that will start. We'll connect to the streaming platform like Vimeo from something like Zoom. And to do that, we'd come into Zoom here. Sign into your account. And I'll show you what my feed looks like because I'm using the camera here, which must have died maybe. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you want to help me on that one. Okay, so this is probably not the best, so I'm going to bring in a different video source, which is my OBS. Not working. Okay, well, the video source doesn't look like it's working too well. But this is kind of like a basic setup for a live stream screen that a lot of us will use. There is some compression involved, so if you want to use something that doesn't have compression, we can kind of jump to a Riverside example.
Looks like we got your camera.
All right. Right on. Okay, so it looks like we'll say that this is a stream look that I want to go with. I'm ready. I've got people tuning in. I've got my YouTube stream scheduled. So I'm going to go from there to these little 3 dots. And this will be similar in almost any streaming platform like Streamlabs or Riverside or Zoom. So this is a nice example of what these behind the scenes stuff means. You've got a streaming URL, stream key, and a streaming page. So when we get back to our live events that we've created, where we created an event and scheduled it in advance at a particular time, we created our nice little thumbnail to go into it, and we are ready to go live. Okay, so we're over on this area. We've got our copy URL. We've got our URL that we'll be using for the stream. And there's stream key that we're going to copy and paste. And our website, it could be anything from tattoonow.com, reinventingthetattoo.com, anything like that. In this case, we stream everything from reinventingthetattoo.com. Would it screw things up if I actually did go live? Okay, so what we're going to do is connect our Vimeo, which is connected to the place that we want to put this video, to our platform. Gives us a little notification that this is being live streamed, which is good.
Yeah, let's get as inception as we can and stream.
Stream the stream while streaming a stream. Only when streaming. So this is what we have. This is literally all you need to make your stream go out. We've got the equipment. I'm using a complex setup with multiple cameras, and we're connected to Vimeo. So on the side in Vimeo, when it says RTMP destination, what that means is to get the stuff that we just copied and pasted in that window, to get those numbers in. In the case of YouTube, if you want to schedule your stream in advance, YouTube's going to give you those numbers. You go into your YouTube studio and you copy and paste them right here before your stream even starts. So yeah, this is pretty much ready to stream. Another thing that I like using these for with a live, or really anything, would be to do our lower thirds. Join live at reinventingthetattoo.com, which is true right now in our inception-y stream of a stream of a stream.
You didn't click the go live button, which is
Yeah,
okay.
which is okay. Yeah, because if we did go live, we would see it. So in our Reinventing the Tattoo channel, what has it been? Probably 2 years that we've had this channel. We didn't always do this. We used to manually go live differently. Switch account. Okay, so I'll show you guys what it looks like when you schedule your stream in advance and why that would happen.
You could show that is this stream.
That's the stream right now. So if anybody's watching and they have questions, this is the first time I've ever done something like this, so just let me know. But the one that I was pretending to stream, it's called Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie. So what our team has done, Kyle has gone in the back end. He's done the same kind of sort of setup as we did in Vimeo, but on YouTube. And with that, we've got this pretty picture and a way to notify yourself and set up yourself to be live when they are live, which is every Monday at 5. So this is what we would be looking at if I were to click go live. But I will show you guys what you look like right now too. Nice. Perfect. So I can see that you guys see the screen. Well, I guess I'm a little behind on the delay here, but you're basically ready. When we're looking at this, I can maybe make a comment here. Hey, everybody, looking forward to seeing you soon. And then while I'm getting my pre-production stuff kind of checked off that list, I'll go through and test my audio, test my video, test my lights, get anyone in that's going to come, and then get ready to read my script. So once I've got all of these types of connections, I will keep my YouTube up, because a lot of times we're going to stream to YouTube. Mostly if you're going to stream to YouTube, this is what will happen. Whatever place that people can comment, you want to have that window set up. So I'll pull a little window up, something like this, and I'll just set it off to the side. Also in the beginning, I'm going to pull up the window of the page that I'm streaming to so I can make sure that that stream actually does come up. So I'll leave that there. And then when I go back to Vimeo and I see, yeah, this is what I want to see, I'm going to click go live. When I do that, it's automatically live anywhere that I put it here, which could be, for example, if you have a shop Facebook, if you have a individual Facebook, you know, you have an art page, or if you run something with other people like a tattoo magazine or something like that, that's where you would put it. So let's just say we're live, we've got stuff going on, all of that happens, we're excited, we've got some lower thirds playing in there. Got some lower thirds playing in there. That's pretty complex. That's pretty much all we need to do. From there, I guess we can go back to our OBS where we're here, controlling the video that people see, and then start to really play. I don't have any like animated graphics kind of here, but for this one, you know, if you have someone's name or animated graphics here, that is what they'll see on YouTube. Yep, I'll just talk about another useful thing. So if I want to say, if you're focusing on me and I can see you're focusing on me, and then I'm going to say, hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Reinventing the Tattoo, and thank you to our sponsor, World Tattoo Events. That's kind of an example of what you would do. Or if, say, like they had Tattoo Collecting 101, you can say, hey everybody, thank you for watching our stream. Check out some of our courses. So yeah, that's pretty much my simple to complex. Before we go, since there's pretty much that, I was going to talk to you guys and hear your input on what to stream, why to stream, because this equipment is pretty standard. If you get the equipment on the list, the next thing would be producing the content for it. Yeah, so once we're done, just talking back because I didn't finish this slide. Once we're done and we've got the lower thirds and all that and we're ready to end the screen, you want to thank everybody for watching, close up your sponsors, all of that good stuff, and click End Event in Vimeo. So once you get that end event, the fun part comes in the post-production, which is a huge thing with Reinventing that's been automated. So really what happens after you end the stream, you want to go back into YouTube and Vimeo, edit the description to be more, you know, accurate to what you were watching. So in the case that, you know, if we have the Tattoo Weekly, we'd go back in and change it to something that was really interesting from the show to kind of grab more attention. We might change the thumbnail to grab more attention or something that was more pertinent as well. Other stuff that we do particularly is when it hits and the end stream goes, there's automations on the back end to send it directly to a podcast on the podcast channel on Spotify, Apple, all of that good stuff, as well as different apps like repurposing your content, which is really cool. So if you want to repurpose your content, once you hit end stream, you can log into something like repurpose, and it'll take it and it'll clip the most important parts. So if you had an interview where you had a highlight for 3 or 4 minutes, you can export that little clip via AI and get it all to your different social media platforms. So for us at Reinventing, I would say that we use probably like 2 or 3 different lines to get it to go to a Roku channel. So we have our continual 24/7 content, but all of that happens via automations, which we can talk about further maybe in the next video, something like that. If you really want to get, maybe Gabe and I can do some sort of screen sharing with that. But once you have post-production, I think it's really important not to forget to get that circle started again, get ready for your next live stream and promote that one, whether or not it's taking and making GIFs out of that content, whether or not you want to get it to all your social platforms chopped up, if you want to run it through a program like Descript to get your audio and your subtitles in there. Yeah, that would be that. So with this knowledge of equipment, once we put, an equipment list into the Reinventing description, you could host your own tattoo show with us on Reinventing the Tattoo. So really the basic point of all that is to get everybody on the same page with what they need to get, because I think there's a huge hole in content out there, and I think that if there's more people who have access to that good stuff, we'll have better stuff to absorb and to do. And I would prefer, if I could, more educational-based content where you're going to need a multi-camera setup or anything like that. For the next little part, I was thinking maybe since we have the camera set up, we could pull a few chairs up here and talk to some other streamers about what they do, why they do it, and maybe what they're going to do next. Because I think pretty fairly all of us use the same sort of software as well that I showed you. So take a quick, you want to pull up a chair up here, Mark Fawn?
I'll do it first. I'll do it first. Is that the one? Okay, so when I started kind of like kicking around the idea of like getting decent quality equipment for my show, I think the most important thing that I had in mind was compatibility, because I don't have a lot of experience with this stuff. So I wanted to get equipment that was easy to communicate with one another, but I also wanted it to be professional enough that I could grow into it as like I started understanding or Kyle came around. So, so like for our sound, the Zoom P4 has been like one of my favorite pieces of equipment. I can run 3 microphone lines through this, and then it's got a cool feature which is called a mix minus. So through USB-C, I actually have my line in and out for my computer. So that's just one line to this, and then there's just a switch that puts it into that mode, which is super cool. That way I'm not just like aux cables connecting everything. So also the ease of operation of this is pretty cool, because you don't have to worry about gain, you don't have to worry about levels. You literally have your volume for your line in and then your volume for your lines out. It also has a little touchpad on it, so you can pre-record like, theme music, quick little jingle. It comes preloaded with like an applause, like snare and hi-hat. There were a couple, but this was just an incredibly easy to use piece of equipment, but it's also a recorder. So all of those features, and it records on its own, and then it'll take all of those tracks and divide them like into their own file, and then you've got a 5th track with all of them together. So this is a teeny tiny piece of equipment, It was only about $250, and I think if you want something little and portable, like what I was going for, and easy to use, this is like, don't leave home without it kind of equipment. The other thing is like, people that work out in the field, they'll like strap this to them, so they'll have like, you know, like a rig vest where they're literally wearing a laptop on their chest, and then they have their sound on their back, or, you know, however it works out. So, that was a pretty integral part of our sound setup. And then for our video, one of the things that I found that was really a game changer for me was the Sony ZV-1, and they've actually got 3 versions of this now. I'd like to get the ZV-10, but I need to learn how to use this for what it's capable of. But the cool thing about this is if you've ever streamed with a DSLR, you know you have to have a dummy battery, or you run the risk of your camera getting too hot and just shutting down midstream. So the Sony ZV-1 is the answer to that. This is the camera that's designed to do everything that a DSLR is capable of doing, except it doesn't overheat and get hot. So this is like, I use 2 of these as our static cameras for the show every week. And then for our handheld, I have the, what is this one? The FDR AX3. And the reason I chose this camera is because it was supposed to have the best color match out of the Sonys that were available, like without going to like a multi-$1,000 camera. So these were all, you know, in the ballpark of $800 or $900. But all the things that I'm able to do with them is pretty cool. This is awesome because it's got a really nice built-in stabilizer. So if you're not the steadiest handed, this camera makes up for a lot of that. So, and then it's got an incredible zoom. Like I could be standing from here to the other side of the room, and I can zoom in on like a 4-inch area of somebody tattooing, and I can get like, you can see the all the details you need to see.
Is that what you used on the Bob Tyrrell footage?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so if anyone watched that Bob Tyrrell seminar we did at Red Tree, I think that was mounted up from the wall, right, with the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing that you bring up. In my tattoo station, I actually mounted a swing arm above where I work, and a few of my coworkers have done the same thing. So sometimes we'll hang lights from them. Sometimes we'll put cameras on them. I've got clips that I can put my phone into, so I can do like live streams on Instagram from my phone while I'm working.
Yeah.
Outside of that, what was anything else integral?
Yeah, sometimes even if you're going to be on the road, like if you have a show and you have like a home base and you want to be included too through your phone, this was pretty cool. This is a Shure mic that plugs into your iPhone.
This is pretty neat. And I always have this in my backpack just in case I'm in a pinch. And this is actually a tiny little condenser mic that snaps right into the bottom of my iPhone. I believe they do have them with other plugs as well. But the nice thing about this is there's some software that you put on your phone, and you can control this microphone from your phone. So you can adjust which direction it's picking the sound up from, whether you want it to like fan the whole room, be one direction or the other. So this was like maybe $120, but I can do a lot with it. Jordan and I took this to hyperspace one time, and we got some really nice conversations with Guy. But while we were outside, like just filming sounds, we got some really cool, if you're into paranormal stuff, we got some cool like clicks and strange noises that weren't explainable by anything. So if you're into that, that could be kind of fun to play with.
Yeah.
But this is just, you just get really good sound quality with this. And I just recently found an extension cord, so I can plug this into my
And then you can
phone
kind of
and then have it as a little handheld.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
nice.
it's a little awkward, but I think that's going to kind of be a game changer when I just happen to be out and about and want to get some good quality footage to incorporate in our show.
Absolutely. All right, well, Mark, do you want to come up here and talk a little bit with me? Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Lascarbo. All right. Hey, Mark.
Hey, y'all. I did not know this was happening, so I was actually getting ready to go out on the floor and do
Yeah.
some filming myself.
Sure.
I really don't do streaming per se as of yet. I mostly am set up a studio to pre-record content, mostly product videos, things like that. I have a couple of Canon EOS our mirrorless DSLRs.
Mhm.
And that and a camcorder setup for a 3-camera setup. And I use this, it is an A10 Mini Pro ISO switcher.
Okay.
Laura
Can you
was
hold that up
talking-
for Gabe at all?
Yep, sure. And so this is more for multicam switching. The Procaster is more audio. This is definitely dedicated more towards video. If you had two, you pretty much have your own film studio, really. What I do in my layout is I sit at a desk. I have one of the DSLRs straight at me. I have another DSLR hanging directly over my laptop and desktop area for me to hold products, twist them around, move them, show them. I have that camcorder there, set off at a distance for a wide shot, and this allows me 4 camera inputs, so I also use my laptop monitor for the 4th input. And what this allows me to do is sit there, shoot 4 camera angles by myself with no other help. So that is kind of cool for a guy like me who can just go do something, grab something I built in the machine shop, whatever, sit down, and I don't need to coordinate a schedule with a bunch of other people. I can do it any hour, any day. That's really convenient. So, but yeah, I'm not really getting into the streaming so much yet. I plan on it, but truth is, I'm still getting comfortable in front of the cameras.
Right now you have
It's
several
not
on.
It's not that easy, yeah, I'm in front of, what,
4 or 5?
5 cameras right now. It gets easier over time. If you guys want to get streaming, best advice I can give you is get out there and do it. Don't wait for the best gear, don't wait for the best scripts, the best ideas, the best content. Just get out there, and each and every time it will get better. You'll learn something from the previous broadcast, and you'll just keep improving. If you're going to wait, you're never going to get there. That's kind of key. Like you said, you can start with really, really not crazy expensive stuff. And most people's phones these days are outstanding cameras. And this, I will be buying one of these. Fawn, she showed me this earlier, and I was like, I need that in my life. And I already have 6 or 8 cameras over there in those 2 Pelican cases, and I'm like, I need that one. That's got to go to the collection.
Yeah, when you have that extender, you can kind of hold it out. You know, if you're at a convention, you have an artist hold it out, and that works really, really well.
Well, what I was getting ready to do right now is I got this little rig for this mirrorless, and I've got one Rode mic facing forward, and I've got a audio splitter here on the
Sure.
side, and I'm using the same
The wireless
the
Rode.
wireless Rode,
Okay.
and because I don't want the big old block on my collar, I have a Rode lavalier mic plugged into that rundown inside my shirt. To me, I don't like the big blocky thing on my collar.
I could barely even see it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, my glasses really
Yeah.
have the mic covered. I gotta move those. But this will allow me to speak to somebody, talk to them. This will pick up their audio perfectly, and this will pick up mine. And the whole conversation should be able to, be legible. So,
Yeah, so say if I was walking around with Mark at this convention and I had decent enough Wi-Fi, I could follow him with my laptop, a micro HDMI cord, and my Camlink or my Elgato capture card, and he could be doing these interviews live from needlejig.com. So there's a lot of
yeah,
Just
point it
uses
right
for
into the
live
side
streaming.
here, link the two
Yeah.
together. I actually, there may be a way to wirelessly link the two. I don't know how good the feed would be, but
yeah, that'd be something to explore.
there's a million different ways to approach
Yeah.
these things.
Well,
And, there is no one right answer.
yeah.
There's so much different equipment to be used that, and it doesn't need to be crazy. I get crazy because I just like gadgets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she has a bigger collection than me so far.
Well,
Accessories.
maybe
But I'm
we'll pull in Gabe and
Yeah.
see what you come up with video and photos after the weekend.
Yeah, good time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Mark. All right, Gabe, you want to come and talk a little bit with me?
Want to talk a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but it'll be quick though because
Oh, just a minute,
my
yeah.
techie knowledge is
So I've been talking to all sorts of people about streaming, just over, and I forget who it was. It might have been Seth, where he said that you'd been doing this forever. So what's the difference between you when you started streaming versus what we're doing
Right, I mean,
now?
the biggest difference is bandwidth.
Bandwidth.
Right, so like back in the day, it was, I mean, way back in the day, you spent all night to download an image, like a JPEG, and you hoped that your mom didn't pick up the phone, right?
Okay, yeah.
And, as far as just accessibility,
Mhm.
right? So it used to cost like, you know, all these cameras now that we could afford, like, would have been 10 times as much, right? The computer, everything was a lot more, you know, just a lot more money, a lot more investment, for a lot less bandwidth. Is the main thing, right? And again, it's just all the technology, right? Like just having these, you know, the video switcher here being like 750. Like holy shit, 10 years ago to have a full switcher for video was I don't even know how much it was. I couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, for me, that's definitely the biggest difference. It's just things are going wicked fast, and you know, what used to cost us $10,000, $15,000 could cost us $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that does mean that the barrier to entry is also lower. There's more people doing it. You know, back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I mean, and guy was doing it before, you know, he's a little older, so he was doing it before, you know, with this guy Steve Collins doing streaming out from like raves and, you know, Chicago or whatever on real media, or real stream, whatever the real player was. But yeah, like again, most of my biggest impression is it's way more accessible, which means that, to your point earlier, the content, you know, is going to be what's separating people apart, as opposed to just having the right equipment, which is
Yeah.
becoming more accessible, especially as you're making videos. It's cool, you know.
Yeah.
You know, more people
So
can get it.
for you guys, what you're doing streaming now with Tattoo Now is mainly like that Zoom, like interview-based type of stuff. I see a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and we're using Zoom not because it's not designed for video switching or
Yeah.
any of it, but it's really accessible for people to just get on the phone and beam in. This is beaming out via straight to Vimeo.
Mm-hmm.
So this is beaming out OBS to straight to Vimeo.
Okay.
And again, but if there's ever going to be multiple people beaming in, it's really difficult. If you're going to do it at, I mean, we're not doing it at a massive scale, but if you're doing it a lot, if you're going to, you know, Zoom is, you know, everybody by now kind of knows how to get into Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to send everybody a link to you know, we use a couple of the other ones, it's either Restream or, I don't know, there's a half a dozen of them.
Yeah. Vidyard.
Or Vidyard or,
Mhm.
or
Riverside.
Riverside, that's the one that has the
Yeah.
high definition stuff. But like, there's always like one platform that it doesn't work on, right? So
Mhm.
it's like all of a sudden, and guys, you know, if it doesn't work for him, it doesn't work, right? So all of a sudden it's like, wait, this doesn't work on Chrome on a laptop,
Yeah.
or this doesn't work on my iPhone, or this doesn't work on my, you know, whatever. And with Zoom, at this point, you know, again, I don't want to be an ad for Zoom, and I don't, you know, I pay money to get an adequate service,
Mhm.
but we could give everybody a Zoom link, they can click the buttons, and then now they're zooming in.
Nice. Well, the last thing I think before we wrap up, so how could people be using this to look really professional in their online consults? You know,
Oh,
or
geez, yeah,
online,
yeah,
like, you
sure.
know,
Well,
anything like
so
that.
definitely having your website hooked up to like some Zoom calendars. You know, obviously we've been working on the scheduling software where you could have default
Mhm.
Zooms. You know, but I, you know, frankly, I haven't been doing video consults in a shop for a while now, right? So my other tip, or you know, to end on a subtly different note. We've always been talking about the AI is all over the place. When you were talking about some of the post-production for YouTube, there are GPT plugins that will look at the videos and pull out the
Mhm.
summaries and give you the catalog points or the chapter points right there, right? And, I mean, over the weekend, guy was looking through using GPT to summarize,
Mhm.
and you know, as you know, if we have an hour-long video or 2-hour, 3-hour-long videos, summarizing them is insane, almost impossible.
Mhm.
Where we could use the computer to go through, take a look at all the scripts, it pulls out the main points, and
Which a lot of
saves us
times-
a shit ton of time. It's crazy.
A lot of times we'll use that, like the exported video, to get the transcription and use that in like a nice article post on the website. It's
Yeah.
also another use that you could be doing.
Absolutely, getting those, and again, those summaries, again, and then GPT will pull out the summary, and then you can, you know, write the article, and then you always have to give it the human touch, or at least
Mhm.
right now you still do, probably for the next 5 years, for 2 reasons. One is so that it actually reads right and has some emotion behind it, but also, you know, AI content isn't going to be favored by search engines, right? It's like, Bing can make the same AI-generated content. They can all make their own AI-generated content. So, having a real human being touch on it, I feel like it's still going to be, well, one, good to have as a human being, but also it'll be favored if people are just going to all the AIs and exporting, articles and then copy and pasting them. I don't think it's going to get tons of traction that much in the future. But anyways, point is, GPT to summarize your videos and your streams is great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, this is cool. I've never done something like this, so thanks everybody for listening. The last thing too, what's also really nice about live streaming, if you do it right, that's your permanent video, and that's pretty nice because once you have a podcast channel with tons of videos that you actually live streamed, and you've got great pre and post production on something like that, you've got, that's pretty cool. That's where we're sitting now, I think.
People still watch videos from 10 years ago that we posted, and I guess maybe a little bit more just to wrap up. Lastly, like when I had this tattoo studio, I don't think in the last 5 years I hired anybody that hadn't watched the live streams.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's two different, when you're doing regular live streaming, two things kind of happen. One is everybody that's on the live stream it's like almost perfect interview material. Like anybody who wants to hire any of the people that are on Reinventing, they could just watch hours of what they're like when they want to talk about art.
It's true.
For good or bad, And then likewise, as a producer of those live streams, as a studio, the best thing that would happen is we'd be able to attract guests and resident artists. Clients too, of course. But yeah, like I said, it's a great vessel. It's a lot of work, but if you're into it, and you can't not do it, then you should go for it.
Yeah. Well, with that said, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, you can always find me, Lauren at reinventingthetattoo.com, or on Instagram, Lauren Worldwide. And yeah.
Management at Reinventing the Tattoo.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks again, and I'll be excited to get any feedback in the comments. We'll tighten it up and do it again.
Yeah, like I also said, management at Reinventing the Tattoo, if anyone wants to maybe look into hosting something like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All right, guys.
Good stuff.